So they view it as a point of political leverage, as you say.
Back to school season is about to kick off, and chronic absenteeism remains a huge problem. The number of school kids not attending class has increased to more than 25%. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says America's schools are failing, and that's one of the reasons so many kids have stopped going.
I've signed a memo of understanding with the Department of Labor, and I'm working very closely with Lori Chavez-DeRaymer, the Secretary of Labor, because all of these workforce development projects that you're talking about, I believe, start in K through 12 and then go into higher education. We have to have pathways. SHOP would be included. Technology would be included. A lot of the skill-based learning that's hands-on. I'm visiting more and more schools that are doing that. So as we take those best practices and offer them to different states and say, look what this state is doing, provide them with toolkits to say, oh, we can take part of this and put it into our curriculum. We're going to see more and more of that happen across the country. That's my goal.
An anti-trafficking organization is sounding the alarm on a popular AI tool, and parents must be aware of this. Reed Ritter explains.
Speaking to American Family News, Haley McNamara, who works with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, explained that X, formerly Twitter, has created an AI tool called Grok that will have sexually explicit conversations with users, and this is putting children's safety at risk.
This is a problem with X, formerly Twitter, which, as many people know, also has created an AI app called Grok. Unfortunately, they have decided to create some not safe for work features within this app, including a AI character named Annie who will have sexually explicit conversations with users through the chatbot. The reality, unfortunately, is that the not safe for work feature means sexually explicit, and unfortunately, there is no age verification to prevent children from accessing this tool.
The social media platform has said that it wants to release a more kid-friendly AI tool called Baby Grok, but McNamara believes that this could create yet another threat to child safety online.
We believe that they do not have a good track record on prioritizing child safety, and they probably shouldn't be trying to make products for kids until they make all of their products safe.
McNamara also said that people can help with this issue by going to the National Center on Sexual Exploitation's website and signing the petition telling Grok to remove the sexually explicit features. I'm Reed Ritter.
More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
I'm thoroughly looking forward to our Weekend with AFA coming up in October, where we're going to be able to meet our supporters like yourself, to fellowship, to visit our facilities here in Tupelo, and to have everyone come together for a wonderful weekend.
It's a Weekend with AFA, Thursday, October 2nd through Saturday, October 4th in Tupelo, Mississippi. Speakers will include Abraham Hamilton III, Jenna Ellis, Tim Barton, Tim Wildman, and more. Register at afa.net/weekend.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Monday, July the 28th, 2025. Again, welcome to the program, and thanks for listening to AFR. Good morning, Fred Jackson.
Good morning to you, Tim.
Good morning, Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
And again, we thank everybody for listening to Today's Issues. Fred, if folks want to join us via the internet, how do they do that?
Why, there's all kinds of ways to do that. You can go to afa.net, afr.net,
right,
and dial us up there and listen in. I use the app a whole lot, Tim, when I'm traveling.
Yeah, me too.
That is just a wonderful tool. You know, as you drive along, you may kind of travel outside one of our towers. Bring up that app on your phone, your smartphone. Put it in most cars today. You can do that attachment. You can drive along, and you never miss a second of American Family Radio.
Absolutely. So check that out. Download the app and listen anywhere in the world, as long as you have high-speed internet service to
That's
the
right.
AFR. Get the AFR app. Well, we have a guest on that we're delighted to have with us, and he's only got a few minutes, so we're going to jump right in here and talk to Brendan Carr. He is the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, and he joins us. I'm not sure where he joins us from. Commissioner, Chairman, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, great to be with you. I'm in Washington, D.C. at the FCC's headquarters. And listen, unlike most broadcasters, I think I'm safe. I don't need to worry about any indecency or other issues where we might have to fine you for this segment. So you guys should be good to go.
Good. If we get fined because something the FCC chairman said, I don't know, the world's coming to an end or something. But anyway.
I did get bleeped on one program once. I got a little bit too excited and let an expletive go. But
well, we got a 7-second delay here that we can put into order, but hopefully that won't be needed here. We're not trying to upset you for any reason here. But thank you for being on with us on today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. By the way, what is your background? I'm just curious. Prior to becoming the FCC chairman.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer by training. I actually started at the FCC as a staffer all the way back in 2012. So over a dozen years ago, I started in the general counsel's office there, and I've had a lot of opportunities inside the building ever since then. I got to work for a commissioner as a legal advisor, and then I actually was general counsel of the agency during the first Trump administration, and then President Trump nominated me from there to be a commissioner. So I served in that job for about 5 or 6 years before President Trump tapped me at the beginning of this term to be chairman of the FCC, and so it's been a bit of a Forrest Gump-like career for me inside this building, but it's been a lot of fun, a lot of different jobs.
Tell our listeners who may not know, I think people have a general concept of the FCC, and of course we deal with the FCC because we're in the radio business and have for, since 1991 when we started. But tell our listeners generally, what are 2 or 3 things that you guys are responsible for?
Yeah, so the FCC regulates traditional broadcast TV and radio. That's probably our longest standing area. In fact, that's basically why the FCC was invented back in the 1930s, was to make sure that radio stations didn't interfere with each other. And obviously it's expanded over time. So we regulate, mobile wireless. We regulate to some extent broadband and telecommunications issues. And we, administer a $10 billion a year fund that's designed to subsidize internet builds in rural communities. So basically, anything sort of tech or telecom related effectively touches the FCC, and we're authorized for 5 commissioners total. Right now we have 3, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat right now. The majority of what we do is bipartisan, unanimous, but occasionally we do things that gets contentious and end up breaking down on party lines.
Like what?
Well, the first one we had in this administration was we're engaged in a massive deregulatory initiative. So we have this proceeding called In-Raid, Delete. We're looking at all of our rules and regulations and getting rid of ones that simply aren't necessary anymore. And my Democrat colleague, who I get along with well, thought that we were moving a little too fast or deleting too many rules at one time. And so we sort of, broke waves there. Historically, probably the biggest partisan issue we had at the FCC was, if you remember, net neutrality. Net neutrality was all the rage a couple of years ago. And the Republicans on the FCC, myself included, eliminated these sort of Obama-era net neutrality rules, and we were told that it was going to be the end of the world as we know it, and that millions of people would die. Of course, that did not happen. In fact, the internet is faster today than it was then. It's more affordable than it was back then, but it's a real interesting set of issues. And, one thing we're looking at now is I've laid out what I call a Build America agenda, which is trying to make it easier to get shovels turning and do permitting reform, get more spectrum out there for your cell phone. So it's an entire agenda designed to sort of get rural communities connected much faster than what we've seen over the last couple of years.
Fred, you had a question for
Yes, Chairman Carr, Fred Jackson here. A lot in the news about the announcement of a merger between Paramount and Skydance Media. Charges being laid. It was a bit of a quid pro quo that President Trump got $16 million from CBS on the Kamala Harris editing of that segment. In return, Stephen Colbert is gone, and you know what the left-wing media is saying about all that. How do you respond to those charges that it was a quid pro quo and CBS just did this to kind of make this merger happen?
Well, there was a lawsuit, as you indicated, that was outside the FCC and it was separate from us. Here at the agency, we just ran our normal course review of this transaction. We had a lot of other transactions in the queue. We worked our way through that. We then got to this one. And the upshot of this transaction, I think, is going to be a good one because one of the things that CBS's new owners have committed to doing is to bring more fact-based, objective reporting to their news outlet. Similarly, they've agreed to end invidious forms of DEI discrimination that had got into the CBS outfit. So I think those are good things. But more broadly, I do think President Trump deserves an awful lot of credit for what we're seeing right now. When President Trump decided to run, he really took on the entire legacy media establishment, particularly the broadcast TV outlets, CBS, ABC, NBC, because frankly, for generations, those companies got to dictate the political narrative, and everyone just sort of lived within the reality constructed by those outlets. But President Trump did something different. He spoke directly to the American people, and he was channeling this idea that the American people do not trust those legacy national outlets. And so he smashed this facade that they are somehow, the oracles of all truth. And once President Trump did that, we are now starting to see all of the consequences that flow from that. And frankly, I think Colbert leaving The Late Show is a consequence that flows from President Trump calling out these traditional corporations, because it just doesn't make business sense anymore to run stuff like what Colbert was doing. And so I think we're in a real interesting moment of change where, again, people aren't trusting the legacy media. That undermines their business model. And again, I think that change all goes back to the decisions that President Trump has made.
Fake news. He's the one. I remember when he started that, and that really resonated with millions and millions of people. We're talking to Brendan Carr. He's chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. Did you see where Jay Leno commented on the Stephen Colbert situation with CBS announcing that they were terminating Colbert's The Late Show? Is that what it's called? It's Jay Leno, I think, who's followed Johnny Carson and a veteran of late night television as in NBC. Anyway, he said basically that these late night talk show hosts on the networks now are just left wing propagandists. I don't know if he said exactly like that, but that's how I'm interpreting it. And they're driving away half their potential viewing audience. Did you see this?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, it reminds me of the old Michael Jordan line that Republicans buy sneakers too. And there was an interesting op-ed that I saw over the weekend that said, we need court jesters, right? People that are going to make fun of those in power. But these late night shows have gone from court jester to court cleric, meaning they're just sitting there, oftentimes it seems, to enforce, an orthodoxy that comes down from the Democratic Party. And make fun of Trump, go at it. Make fun of Democrats, go at it. But they weren't sort of going for joke lines anymore. They're going for applause lines, and that that's a fundamentally different thing. I mean, we've seen Johnny Carson, we've seen Jay Leno. Stephen Colbert is no Johnny Carson, and I think that's why the business model simply doesn't make sense anymore. People have more choices, they have more options, and so I think that's the struggle that they ran into.
Yeah, Chairman Carr, I find it very interesting that just days before your decision on this merger, Paramount agreed to hire an ombudsman at CBS News with the mission of investigating complaints of political bias. And apparently, in their letter to you, they said, in all respects, Skydance will ensure the CBS's reporting is fair, unbiased, and fact-based. How are you going to measure that?
Yeah, a couple things. One, to your point, they've agreed to have an ombudsman in place. And this is something that the concept exists in a lot of different places. For instance, newspapers used to have a public editor, so someone that's inside the operation that can help leadership there spot and call balls and strikes. So I think that ombudsman is going to be hired, and that'll be a step in the right direction. The other thing is when you have these licenses, these broadcast licenses, radio and TV, you have to operate in the public interest. And what CBS is saying is that they're defining the public interest as including fact-based and unbiased reporting. And so there'll be mechanisms by which the FCC could potentially take actions if they don't live up to their commitments. So we're taking a trust but verify approach right now. But I do think we're seeing some significant change, some change in the right direction. And so, yeah, at this point, it's a trust but verify posture for us. But we're hopeful that things are going to turn around over there.
We've been talking to Brendan Carr. He's the chairman of the FCC, and One other thing, you mentioned that there are only 3 commissioners now. There's people. There's 5 total. You're the chairman. And then when will the other 2 be appointed, and how does that work?
Yeah, so we've had different numbers of commissioners over the years. We're authorized for up to 5, and ordinarily we are 5. But yeah, as you indicate, right now we're 2 to 1, which is enough. That gives us a quorum, which is all that we need to have votes. We have a Republican majority here. Now, we were 2-2 for the first couple of months of the Trump administration, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, but now we're dropped down to 2-1. It's not clear when President Trump is going to nominate a 4th or a 5th commissioner, but right now we're in good shape. As you may have sort of seen in the news right now, there's a little bit of a backlog in the Senate right now when it comes to nominations, and Leader Thune and his team are trying to work through that backlog. So I'm not sure that they're looking to put more into this end of the pipe at this point until we get some more out the other end. But we're perfectly fine and making do with what we have right now.
If I were the Senate, I would increase my work load to 5 days instead of 3. That might help. They fly in on Monday and fly home on Friday. All of them do this. The congressmen, the senators, Republican and Democrat. It's just like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, if you're backlogged on something, you stay over till you get it caught up. Anyway.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Chairman Carr, for being on with us here on American Family Radio, and we appreciate your work, and thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, good to be with you all. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Wow, he sounds like an energetic guy.
Yeah.
And what a way to start into this with this controversy over this merger. I am very anxious to see, with CBS News hiring this ombudsman, how are we going to see a manifestation of fairness and balance? Are we going to see more Republicans interviewed? That kind of thing, conservatives interviewed. This is exciting to watch, to see how it unfolds.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like Jay Leno, we were quoting him. He was saying, listen, these network late-night TV hosts they're all liberal.
Mm-hmm.
They're all far lefties, quite frankly.
And losing audience.
And so they're turning. So you immediately say, "Well, we don't even want to consider drawing Middle America or conservatives to watch our shows." And so you're basically, your business model doesn't work there.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's why I think people like Greg Gutfeld are doing as well as they are with their late night shows, because while there is language and perhaps topics you don't want to hear or see discussed on television, it is at least a center-right perspective from Greg, whereas when you watch somebody like Colbert, it's just a Democratic rally.
Yeah, you got Colbert, and then you got Jimmy Kimmel, and then you've got they're just virulently anti-Trump, anti-Republican, and then you got what's the other guy? Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't watch their shows, so I'm just basing this on their reputation. And I do see clips of their shows, which are usually shown the day after or whatever. And but Jimmy Fallon's not as hostile,
right,
as the other two.
Kimmel comes out basically and gives like a DNC speech disguised as a comedic monologue every night. And oftentimes
he does so with a smirk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a guy that used to end a show with video of girls jumping up and down on a trampoline, and then he wants to preach to America how we should live.
Right.
I just don't understand, and Chairman Carr was kind of alluding to this. I don't understand how you're losing audiences because of your content. And they say, but we're not going to change our content. These people are in the business. If you're losing audiences, you're going to make far less money because people aren't going to run ads on your program.
Well, I think CBS has made a business decision that they're going to change that model.
Yes.
Because they're losing money with Colbert, and so they're going to try something different. Paramount. So Paramount, they're the parent company of CBS. True.
Yes. Now it's merged into the other.
Well, what is it merging into now?
Well, it's going to be under the new group that's Skydance Media. Skydance Media. Obviously, they have a lot of money somewhere.
Yeah.
To do it's an $8 billion merger, something like that.
I've never heard of Skydance before this. Are this a new company or what?
I think they've been around for a while. We'll get Chris to do some quick research.
It is owned by David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison, who was the founder of Oracle.
Oh,
okay.
He has some sort of connection.
Are you involved, Chris? In full disclosure, are you involved in this business transaction?
I am not.
Are you invested in this,
I am
Chris?
not. I have all of my money still in Blockbuster and beta tapes.
Well,
they're making a comeback.
Well.
By the way, I do
let me
want to
check
point
that
out.
Blockbuster stock.
As one great show says, live long and prosper.
Yeah. I do want to point out that I do know who Johnny Carson is.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, like Johnny Carson, he made jokes, and sometimes they were political, but they were like good-natured ribbing kind of jokes.
Yeah,
sure.
And he made fun of both parties.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Arsenio Hall. I mean, he had Bill Clinton on famously in 1992 to play the saxophone, but Arsenio was still fair and balanced in terms of his humor.
Like the famous quote that Chairman Carr used there from Michael Jordan, the famous basketball player, you know. They asked him, why don't you take more of a stand in politics? And he said, well, Republicans buy tennis shoes too. In other words, I want to reach as many people as possible. And so anyway, we'll see what happens with this CBS merger with who?
It's Paramount and Skydance.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of Sky. Should I have heard of Skydance? You guys heard of Skydance Company?
Well, I find it kind of interesting. There's a connection with Oracle there in the family. Wow, you're talking big bucks.
Yeah,
big bucks.
They're not lifting up the couch cushions to get change for a value meal today.
Good points. Good point, Chris. Next story, Chris.
Well, we need to pray for the wisdom of President Trump and other world leaders. And also, we need to be in prayer, continuing to be in prayer over this whole war between Russia and Ukraine. And I say all this because in a story that we have on our website, afn.net, President Trump now says he is shortening his 50-day deadline for Russia to end the war in Ukraine. He's now telling Russian President Vladimir Putin, hey, Vlad, you need to do something about this in the next 10 days. So we have shortened a 50-day deadline, which was just put in place in recent days, to now, hey, you need to put a stop to this stuff in the next week and a half.
I'm not sure. Vladimir Putin, I believe, is all in on the idea of accomplishing what he describes as his mission. Now, what President Trump, we're kind of anxious to see, okay, so what if Putin doesn't do anything at the end of your new deadline of 10 to 12 days from today? What are you going to do? There has been talk about more sanctions against Russia. But the reality is China is supplying a lot of what Russia is using offensively. And, you know, we've heard reports of Russia's now recruiting people from other countries, et cetera, et cetera. So there's President Trump this morning. He says, and he was asked about this. He's in Scotland right now. He's been negotiating deals, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. He's been negotiating a trade deal with the EU. But he was asked all about Russia this morning, and he says basically he's fed up with Putin, the violence that Putin is displaying against the Ukrainian people. And he's showing no signs of relief, no signs of being interested in a ceasefire of any type. And basically, President Trump said this morning, that's it. You know, you're bombing civilian areas, Vladimir Putin. You obviously don't care about this at all. You don't care about human beings. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I'm backing off the 50 days and coming back down to 10 to 12 days. I guess we're all going to see what happens at the end of 10 to 12 days. Yeah. What is President Trump going to do?
It's curious. It's interesting that, you know, all this tough talk and even the financial transactions, we're going to tariff you, we're going to do this and that, really has not had an impact on Putin and the war here, because going back to Biden's days in office, remember early on we were told in like weeks after the invasion we were going to defund Putin's war machine, and the machine is still rolling through Ukraine today.
Yeah, I don't know, quite frankly, what President Trump can do any more than he's already done. I mean, he tried his best to settle the war between Ukraine and Russia. He thought it would be easy, and it wasn't. You know, I think Russia's going to keep fighting this thing till they take over Ukraine, if that's possible, because President Trump says every time he gets off the phone with Vladimir Putin, you know, it's a good conversation, and they've had many of them. And then Putin doesn't do anything to change. He's just continuing to. And it really amazes me, though. There must be they're in some kind of a, I wouldn't call it a stalemate, but a quagmire or a standoff over there in Ukraine, because we've been going on 3 years now. Is that right?
It started February 24th.
And you don't hear much about, you hear about Putin bombing Kyiv, but you don't hear much about who's advancing, which army's advancing, which way or the other. Maybe I haven't been paying too much attention, but
I think the only thing that might happen, we know now, and this was announced a couple of weeks ago, that the United States is going to sell weapons, defensive weapons, to European countries, and they in turn are going to turn those over, sell them maybe, to Ukraine. The other thing that and we kind of mentioned it last week, we wondered why Saudi Arabia is buying oil from Russia. Remember we dealt with that last week? If President Trump could convince Saudi Arabia to stop buying Russian oil, that would hurt. I mean, the Russian economy is not doing well already. By the way, if you weren't hearing about that story last week, the Saudis, which is kind of strange, master producers of oil, but they could find that they could sell their own oil more expensively than what they were paying for Russian oil. So the only way to starve a country that's involved with war is to sanction people stop buying their stuff. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah, but the world's too interconnected now.
It sure is.
There's just no way, hardly any way, to shut off a country altogether. As Russia has proven, they still sell their oil to European countries, I think.
Even some European, you're right.
And all right, you're listening to Today's Issues. Let's take a break right here. We'll see what happens there. I don't know that, President Trump says 10 to 12 days he's going to do something, but I don't quite frankly, I don't know what he can do if he's not going to get involved militarily.
Yep.
But maybe he's got something I don't know about. All right, we got other stories in the news. Did you hear about this couple that were murdered in a state park in Arkansas?
Yeah.
That happened over the weekend, right?
Yeah, it did.
Shocking.
It did. Yes.
We'll talk about that and other news stories when we get back from the break.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Centuries ago, a man wrote, "I keep working toward that goal." He had not arrived, yet he continued to work at arriving. This man knew a great truth of life, a truth which kept him working at the task. Paul knew that the thrill of life is in trying. Success in life often brings satisfaction, but the thrill which life offers is in trying to be successful. The thrill of life comes not from achieving our goal, but in the attempt to achieve it. The thrill is in trying. Our goals in life should always be a little beyond our reach. This keeps us trying. As long as we have a goal in front of us, just a little beyond our reach, we have something to work toward. This makes life worth living. Life would be meaningless for me unless I had a goal that was a little beyond my reach. Back when I first started writing, I couldn't even give my work away. I approached many publishers with a manuscript for my first book, and I'm sure not a few of them had a good laugh about it. But I wanted to write. And regardless of what others had to say, I continued to try. Now, since that first effort, I've been able to accomplish some, rather, for myself at least, good goals. But for me, the thrill is not so much in accomplishing the goal as it is in trying to accomplish that goal. Each time I nearly reach a goal I've set for myself, I push it just a little bit higher because the thrill is in trying. We should never let the fear of failing keep us from experiencing the thrill of trying. We should never cease to try to go higher and farther because of fear we will not make it. We will be richer simply because we tried. And also, whether we make it or not, we can experience the thrill which comes from trying. Perhaps you've wanted to do some things but have not attempted them because you were fearful you could not accomplish them. Well, attempt them. Go at them with the best you have. Do not be afraid because you might fail. Make an effort. You will be richly rewarded, and you will also receive the thrill that comes in trying. The thrill of following the carpenter from Galilee is in trying. You know, when you are a Christian, you're always working toward a goal which you know you will never reach. But there is a tremendous thrill in trying to reach that goal. God is continually calling us to be a little bit better, a little bit bigger than we are. Like Paul, we never arrive, but we keep working toward that goal. The man of Galilee himself experienced the thrill of trying. The odds against his accomplishing what he attempted to accomplish in the manner in which he attempted it were infinitely great, but he was willing to try. The thrill, I say again, the thrill is in trying. Ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Our fondest dreams, the dreams God has planted in our heart, can come true. And the thrill of life is in trying to make them come true.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
For he has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of the Son he loves. Colossians 1:13.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Fred and Chris, and we thank you for listening to AFR. And Chris, I mentioned before the break this terrible story out of Arkansas. You want to tell us about it?
Yes, Arkansas police are searching for a murderer who killed a couple at Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. And this is a really mysterious situation. Authorities say the person or people that killed this couple did so in front of the couple's children. The individual or individuals did not harm the children. Meanwhile, it's unclear as to how the couple was killed. Also, as the New York Post points out today in their own headline, the police did not alert the public about this double homicide for 6 hours. So, long story short, an Arkansas couple was murdered at a state park in Arkansas in front of their kids. The kids were not harmed.
On a walking trail.
Yes. And the couple or the family had just moved to Arkansas right before this happened.
Yeah, the names of the couple, Clinton Brink and Kristen Brink, early 40s. The kids who were with them, ages 9 and 7, they were not touched. And like you were saying, Chris, why are the police not saying how they died? What's going on here? The other reports that I have seen is that the authorities are asking the public for any pictures they may have, other people in the park may have taken pictures where they see a car right behind driving away. What I understand also is that the license tag on the car was covered over with tape. So that tells me there was some planning went on here. And, of course, there's all kinds of speculation at this point. Okay, did the perpetrator of this have something personal against this couple? Is it, an acquaintance of some type? So all of those things, all of those questions need to be answered. But right now, the suspect is still at large as of this moment.
Yes, and Devil's Den State Park, for those not familiar with Arkansas or the park, it is south of Bentonville, northeast of Fort Smith.
It's between Fort Smith and Fayetteville.
Yes.
Yeah. and I've been on that road a couple of times.
Highway
anyway.
49.
Yeah, very scenic drive there. But that, we were talking off the air that you're going to go on. Of course, you don't think about walking a state park trail with your kids, and people are going to need weapons to defend themselves. That's what people are thinking.
Yeah, broad daylight, just a family outing, obviously.
Yeah,
that's all.
Now there was one report here from like CNN that I'll just read. It said that, of course, it's being investigated as a double homicide. This Washington County received a call from the visitor center, said police radio audio captured by broadcastify.com. 2 children are there. They advised that their parents were assaulted. So the kids evidently, they obviously would have seen this, right? One was possibly stabbed. The parents are missing, end of quote. So anyway, we don't know any more than that. I guess the police maybe will give it an update today. But you're saying, Fred, that who they think the perpetrator was here in this left the state park in an automobile, captured on video, camera.
Yeah, captured on video, yes.
And the license tag was covered.
Yes,
as you say, which indicates premeditation.
Yeah, there was planning in this.
So,
in other news, from Arkansas to Michigan, where authorities seek to file terrorism and assault charges against a suspect in a weekend Walmart knife attack. A man accused of entering a Walmart in Michigan and randomly stabbing 11 shoppers before being detained by bystanders in the store parking lot is expected to face terrorism and multiple assault charges. This is also on AFN.net. Grand Traverse County Sheriff Michael Shea said a motive behind the attack by 42-year-old Brandon Gill of Afton, Michigan, remains unclear. We do point out in our coverage here that the sheriff and other authorities are praising the quick response by law officers who arrived within 3 minutes of receiving the call about the stabbing, as well as a group of bystanders who intervened and detained Gill in the parking lot of the store. The community of about 16,000 people is along Lake Michigan.
And the bystanders, and there's video of all of this happening, two Marines, retired Marines. Mm-hmm. One guy had a shopping cart, which he used to help pin this guy with the knife. The other Marine had a gun on him. And so they were able to subdue this guy out in the parking lot.
So let me get this correct. He stabbed 11 people?
Yes.
Inside the Walmart?
That is correct.
So he was just going crazy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then he went outside, and that's where they subdued him, as you say? The citizens did before the police got there?
Thank God for Marines.
Yeah.
Well trained.
Right, yeah. That's right.
Yep.
One of them had a gun, right?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he had what we've always said, it's better to have people who are armed.
Yes.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Citizens who are allowed to be armed so that they can intervene in a situation like this or protect themselves or defend themselves. I want to go back to this Arkansas story for just a minute because I have a question you guys may not know the answer to, and maybe this changes state to state, but are you allowed to carry a gun in a state park?
Good question, Tim. I do not know what it's
like in Arkansas.
I do not know.
I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. I would think you could take it anywhere except for like in a church or a courtroom or a school or something like that. I would think outside you would be allowed. State law would allow for you to take it to be armed. Go ahead.
Right.
I'm reading from the Arkansas Secretary of State's website. Public display of firearms is prohibited. Concealed handguns are allowed in some areas but must be secure, and it goes on from there.
So you just wouldn't be able to flash a gun, but you could carry it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of campers out there. Surely many of them have guns, right?
One would think. And
I'm talking about with people with RVs, and they stop at state park and that kind of thing.
And I guess, supposition on my part at this point, but Arkansas being one of those states very conservative, it would not surprise me if someone could be licensed to carry.
I mean, there's probably people that are illegally carrying.
You know, I've never understood. It's illogical to me, these blue states who outlaw guns everywhere, and yet the only people who use guns are the outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not unique with me. I mean, I've heard that before, but it just doesn't make any sense.
I have been in news now for almost 25 years, and I have never done a story about a criminal deciding not to do a crime because of a gun-free zone.
There you go. Huh?
Bad people don't follow the law.
I've also never covered psychic wins lottery, but that's another story.
Right. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio, but thank God these two Marines in Michigan were able to, nobody died, right? I mean, they were stabbed. That's bad.
Some of them were, as of last evening, in critical condition, some in serious condition, but I think the word is that they all are expected to survive.
Was this guy on drugs or something? Do they know anything about this fellow?
I mean,
mentally ill or what?
Yeah, details have been kind of scarce in terms of the motivation here. Obviously, mentally unhinged.
Yes.
What was his name?
It is Bradford Gill. I think I said Brandon earlier. Bradford Gill, 42 years old, of Afton, Michigan.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, there are people out there among us who are mentally ill, and they need to be.
And it also goes. It's another lesson.
Facility.
The weapon is not the problem. It's the person. You know, when we have these incidents where guns, and it's in a Democrat-run state, gun control. We have to have more gun control, and everything will just be fine. This guy had a knife.
Yeah, we have knife control now.
Yeah.
Where's the knife control crowd?
Well, it just points. It's the individual who commits the crime.
I agree.
It's not the weapon.
Completely, 100% agree. And as I said, I don't understand these states and cities that have where you're, try to disarm law-abiding citizens, and that way leaves only the criminals who don't care about gun laws to roam free.
Yeah. One of the other things about like you have liberal governors that will from time to time, or liberal politicians, they'll put out statistics going, look at all these red states with a lot of gun fatalities. But one of the things that throws off these statistics here is that Tennessee has Memphis, Mississippi has Jackson, Louisiana has New Orleans. I mean, you're going to have a lot of gun crimes and, unfortunately, gun fatalities, and that throws off the statistics here, and it doesn't give Newsom and other people the argument that they think it does.
Yeah. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Next story, Chris.
All right. Oregon is facing its second lawsuit in a month over the issue of males competing in female sports, specifically high school sports. Two of the state's girls track and field stars, Alexa Anderson and Reese Eckerd, have filed a lawsuit against the Oregon School Athletics Association after an incident on May 31st when they refused to stand on a medal podium with a transgender competitor at a state title meet. Alexa says it's just a matter of fairness and common sense here. Boys should not be allowed to compete against females because they're taking our medals and spots. Clip 1.
After we placed at the state track and field meet, me and Reese Eckerd of Sherwood decided that we would step off of the medal podium in protest to competing against a biological male. A lot of people were very confused and did not understand what we were doing, but after the fact, we did receive a lot of support mixed in with some hate. I was inspired to do this because I don't think that biological males in women's sports is fair to any girl out there just because they do have such a biological advantage that they're taking opportunities and chances from hardworking girls, and that needs to be stopped.
Well, good for her and good for them, those two young ladies. So they filed a lawsuit against Oregon. Who? Oregon?
The Oregon School Athletics Association, or OSAA.
And they're getting help from the White House in this, too. The White House is starting to sue, whether it's a university, suing states with these left-wing policies when it comes to allowing boys, men to compete against girls or go into girls' washrooms and change rooms. It was a big issue in the election. It's one that helped, certainly, President Trump to be elected for a second time. Why in the world these Democrat states can't read the writing on the wall? That when you allow these men to do these kinds of things, Don't be surprised when it's Democrat families that will fight against you, Democrats, because their daughters are being impacted by this. And I just, I don't understand. So, and I think this young lady has a lawyer now, Jessica Steinman, I believe it is.
Yes. Jessica is the executive counsel at American First Policy Institute. We also have some audio of her, clip 2.
America First Policy Institute, we filed this lawsuit on behalf of Alexa and Reese against the Department of Education in Oregon for First Amendment violations. Title IX, which was meant to protect our girls, is now being weaponized against them. And thank you so much to brave girls like Alexa for standing up for what she knows is right. And any of our girls who dare to oppose or honestly even just question this woke movement are being reprimanded. I mean, instead of respecting Alexa's rights, she was sidelined by that official. She was told to get out of the field, did not get her medal, was not acknowledged and respected. And again, her First Amendment viewpoint was suppressed.
I got to tell you guys, this obviously was an issue in the 2024 election. It was one of the reasons why you had people like Riley Gaines and Paula Scanlon campaigning for Trump instead of Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris and Tim, I want males and female sports walls, was behind the issue of males and female sports. And it's not just a West Coast issue. Title IX violations also happen on this side of the Mississippi. And I can say that because on Friday, the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, found at least 5 schools in Northern Virginia were in violation of Title IX, not for males and female sports, but for allowing a male to use a girl's bathroom and a locker room based on gender identity rather than biological sex, which is a violation of something President Trump told schools not to do anymore upon his re-entering office. I've got some audio now of Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin responding to the Department of Education's finding here. Clip 3.
Yeah, this is a huge day for students and parents. We've watched these school divisions violate federal civil rights law and, of course, President Trump's executive order. They have purposely been neglecting their responsibility to protect children's safety, their privacy, and their dignity, and, of course, ignoring parents' rights. And for the first 3 years of my administration, as we used every tool in our toolkit, we had the Biden administration protecting these bureaucrats and not protecting kids. And so this is a huge statement that boys will be in boys' bathrooms, girls will be in girls' bathrooms, boys will not play sports with girls, and common sense is finally back in the classroom in Northern Virginia.
You know, as you said, Fred, this was a issue during the presidential campaign, and it was a loser for Democrats.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Because the vast majority of Americans see the blatant unfairness of this, and also the violation. There's one issue to talk about the unfairness of athletic competition when you have boys, who put on makeup and say I'm a girl and they want to race against the girls or, do some kind of track and field or play basketball, whatever like that. Everybody, that's just blatantly unfair. Everybody knows that. However, what's little discussed is the fact that these same boys who say that they're girls, they go into the changing rooms and the showers with these girls who are, quote, teammates of theirs, and the girls don't know what to do. You hear about these stories in some of these places where this happened, where the girls just, I'm not gonna go in there and change. I'm not gonna go in there nude or semi-nude or get in the shower or change them because of this. We got guys in there. So anyway, their privacy is what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. We had an incident. I'm not sure if this was in Virginia, where you had 3 boys in the male's change room, and a girl saying that she's a boy was allowed to go in there. So they issued a complaint.
I didn't hear. That's rare, isn't it?
It's just a flip-flop. The same issue. Here's the thing, we're coming up on midterms. I would say to people out there, check your candidates, Democrat and Republican. Ask them, where do you stand on this issue?
Yeah.
Because any politician that says, I just feel if somebody feels they're a member of the opposite sex, we ought to go with that. Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is totally unscientific.
Yeah.
This is throwing science, Tim, out the door.
Another kind of feeling is allowed to exist, where you say I'm such and such, and people say, "Oh yeah, you are," because you feel like you are. So you say, "Okay, here's what the left wingers say.
Yep.
Okay, because a boy feels like he's a girl, he is a girl, and we need to treat him as such." Or they would say, "Treat her as such," even though you go, "No, it's not a girl, it's a boy." And you go, well, what other what am I looking for the word? What other application do we have here? Do we say that a white person can say, I'm not Anglo, I'm Chinese?
Yeah.
Okay. No, you're not. You're Anglo.
Yeah.
No, I'm Chinese, really. So am I supposed to demand that people treat me like I'm a, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Chinese person?
What do you think American Airlines would say if I went to American Airlines and said, I feel like a Boeing 737 pilot?
Yeah, they're going to say no.
I want to sit in that cockpit.
Right, because you feel like it.
They'd come and arrest me quickly.
Yeah.
Take me away.
Yeah. There's no other part of society where we go, you can feel like something or identify as something, and therefore you must be treated as such.
Yeah.
Remember we don't have the audio, but last week we talked about how Rahm Emanuel, of all Democrats, went on Megyn Kelly's podcast, and she asked him point blank all these questions. Do you support males and female sports? No. Can a man identify as a woman? No. And she was like, see, it's so simple. Why aren't there more people like you? And he said, because now I have to go into a witness protection program.
Right. I tell you what, too, Ed has a good analogy here he often uses, and that is, this is like telling somebody who is anorexic. Let's say you've got a young lady who's anorexic, right?
Mm.
Okay, and then them coming to you and saying, "I feel like I'm fat." Would you agree? And you having to say, "Yes, I agree. You're fat. You're way overweight. You need to cut back on eating." So you would say, "No, you're not. If you say you're overweight or you're fat, you're delusional, because you're actually skin and bones, and you're going to die if you keep going down this road." So it would be, we're told, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So to follow this analogy, you're told, well, you're supposed to affirm that girl who says she has anorexia, or you're not agreeing with her identifying with herself. So you see does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing to me. Remember when Judge Jackson, nominated by Biden, go on the Supreme Court?
Justice. She was judge and became justice, yeah.
Became a justice on the United States Supreme Court. Remember the question she was asked?
Marsha Blackburn.
Marsha Blackburn. What is that? Can a man get pregnant?
You know what? Can you define a woman?
Can you define a woman?
Can you ask her, can you define a woman? And she said, no, I'm not a biologist.
Yeah, she went blank.
Yeah, no, yeah, she knew what a woman was because she is one.
Of course she does.
And she didn't want to say it because, pardon me, I don't know why she didn't want to say it. Well, I do know why she didn't want to say it. But she didn't want to state the obvious, I guess.
Well, she now sits on the United States Supreme Court.
I know, she's a Supreme Court justice.
Which hears cases involving gender.
That's like saying, do you know what a tornado is? And me going, no, I'm not a meteorologist. I have no idea what you're talking about. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Chris, go ahead with your next story.
By the way, I do identify as 6 foot.
Oh, yeah? And you're 5 what?
With shoes on, 5'6" on a good day if the sun shines right.
So you want to identify, okay, well, you're 6 foot, Steve.
I also have jet black hair.
Okay, whatever you say.
All right. Hey, real quick, President Trump has been wheeling and dealing and getting trade deals with countries. Now,
part of the deal, right?
Yes. We were told by people in the mainstream media that he was going to ruin the economy and everybody was going to hate us, and all of a sudden stuff's going to be more expensive and we're all going to starve to death. Well, that doesn't appear to be the case. And actually, people in various parts of the country are going to benefit from the deals, including one that was announced over the weekend with the European Union. President Trump announcing a major trade deal with the U.S. and European Union just days ahead of an August 1st deadline to get a deal done. This represents 40% of the global trade economy. The EU has agreed to purchase $750 billion in U.S. energy products and an extra $650 billion investment into the U.S. I've got a 19-second clip here of President Trump and the head of the European Union Commission, clip 6.
It's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. But I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much.
It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. It's a good deal. It's a huge deal.
That's a story.
Who is that?
That was Ursula von der Leyen.
That was Ursula?
Yeah, that was Ursula. We go way back. We're on a first name basis.
From her in a while.
Ursula von der Leyen.
Urs for short.
She is the president of the European Union Commission.
Yes.
Okay, and they're announcing a trade deal or?
Yep, this is a tariff. The EU will buy $750 billion in energy products from the U.S. and invest $600 billion in the U.S. Let me see.
What's our deal? What do we got to do?
We are going to lower tariffs on European cars, so Brent can get a Mercedes for cheaper now.
Can hardly wait.
What's the top European cars sold in the U.S. right now? Huh?
I'd probably guess Volkswagen.
Like a Volkswagen, maybe. That's
probably. Yeah,
that's German. Are they still German though? Volkswagen.
I'm trying to
in origin, but you mentioned Mercedes. There's a number of Mercedes that are built right here in the United States.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about Volvo? Where are they? Are they still a big player out there in the car world?
I don't see them listed here.
Volvo, you talking about?
Yeah. BMW is consistently ranked as the top-selling European car brand. Following closely are Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen.
Yeah. So,
Volvo is somewhere on this list, but nowhere near the top.
Mm-hmm. They are on the list, though?
According to HansesEuropean.com, they are the 5th most popular.
Which one do you own, Chris?
I had a Volkswagen once, and I enjoyed it.
Like a Beetle Bug or what?
No, it was a little wagon.
Like a pull behind?
Like a station wagon.
Oh, station wagon.
Diesel powered vehicle.
They have station wagons?
Well, it was a sporty looking station wagon, but it was a station wagon. I mean, it's Volkswagen, so it was a wagon.
You ever have a Volkswagen, Fred?
I did not.
I had a friend that when I was younger. I was in high school. He had a Beetle Bug.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Beetle Bug.
Yeah.
That thing would take it forever to get out there. You better make sure you got 1.5 miles between you and a car coming down the road before you try to get that thing out there on the highway, huh? All right, we'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Hey, if you're looking for family-friendly entertainment or resources to strengthen your walk with God, there's one name you should remember: American Family Studios. We don't just want to bring you shows, movies, and specials that will entertain or build up your family. We're committed to honoring God by making them both biblically sound and of the highest quality possible. Check us out at AmericanFamilyStudios.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Trump sitting down with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Turnberry, Scotland today to discuss economic, military, and international issues. During the meeting, President Trump expressed his frustrations about the Russia-Ukraine war, saying he's not interested in negotiating with Russian President Vladimir Putin anymore.
We have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night with a missile going into a town and hitting, recently, I guess, the nursing home, but they hit other things.
The Senate GOP pushes forward to get President Trump's nominees confirmed.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune has not said if he'll keep lawmakers in town for August recess, as he and President Trump have hinted about delaying the month-long break in order to get more of the president's administration nominees confirmed. Thune argues President Trump is the only commander-in-chief in recent memory to not have a nominee confirmed by voice vote or unanimous consent at this point in their presidency. Democrats have used certain stall tactics on nominees they believe are unqualified for the job. August recess is scheduled to begin at the end of the week. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Oregon is facing its second lawsuit in a month over the issue of male athletes competing in girls' high school sports. Two of the state's girls' track and field stars, Alexa Anderson and Reese Eckerd, filed a lawsuit against the Oregon School Athletics Association after an incident on May 31st when they refused to stand on the podium with a male competitor at a state title meet. Alexa says it's just a matter of fairness and common sense.
A lot of people were very confused and did not understand what we were doing, but after the fact, we did receive a lot of support mixed in with some hate. I was inspired to do this because I don't think that biological males in women's sports is fair to any girl out there just because they do have such a biological advantage that they're taking opportunities and chances from hardworking girls, and that needs to be stopped.
Jessica Steinman is executive counsel at America First Policy Institute, which is representing the girls.
Title IX, which was meant to protect our girls, is now being weaponized against them. And thank you so much to brave girls like Alexa for standing up for what she knows is right. And any of our girls who dare to oppose or honestly even just question this woke movement are being reprimanded.
The search for an Arkansas couple's killer continues after the two were found dead over the weekend.
Arkansas State Police are urging people who visited Devil's Den State Park on Saturday to check their photos and videos for images of the man officials believe killed Clinton and Kristen Brink while they hiked with their young daughters. The park is part of the Ozark Mountains and is where the Brinks were found dead on a walking trail in a remote part of the park where there is no cell phone service. Investigators say it was a double homicide and that their 7- and 9-year-old daughters were not hurt and are with family members. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
An immigration enforcement organization says immigration officers need to protect their identities in the face of increased assaults, spurred on by overheated rhetoric.
Democrat lawmakers in California, New York, and Massachusetts want to ban the use of face coverings and plain clothes by ICE and other federal enforcement agents during immigration actions. And Democrat leaders in Chicago, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and several towns in Southern California are also considering proposals to ban masks and require agents to wear IDs. But Todd Lyons, the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is pushing back on the idea, saying, quote, "I'm not going to let my officers and agents go out there and put their lives on the line, their family on the line, because people don't like what immigration enforcement is." Ira Melman is media director for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. He says this is all about safety.
The issue here is that there has been about an 800% increase in assaults on ICE officers. So their lives in danger, their safety is in danger, their families are in danger. And so it becomes necessary for them to protect their identities because you have this violence being perpetrated against federal law enforcement officers.
Melman says it is being instigated and abetted by overheated rhetoric from politicians.
They may not like the policies of this administration. They may not like ICE, and that's perfectly within their right. But when you cross that line and start inciting violence against law enforcement officers.
I'm Chad Groening.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty P.
In a recent survey of 1,200 left-of-center American adults, 55% responded that assassinating Donald Trump could be justified. We're swimming in shark-infested cultural waters. Some are suffering from Christianophobia. Jesus said, "If they persecuted me, they'll also persecute you." Please give today to help AFA keep equipping you and others to stand for Christ. Help us shine His light into our dark culture. Visit afa.net/warrior.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
All right, Fred, I'm within 20 seconds of sneezing.
I'll stand
I'm going to
by.
have to open up the show here on this half hour.
All right. Welcome back to this Monday edition of Today's Issues. Fred, along with Tim. And joining us now is Steve, what?
Paisley Jordan. Hey, everybody.
Steve Paisley Jordan. Now, I didn't I don't know what it was, a false alarm there, but
I hate it when that happens.
I know. By the way, when you sneeze, do you have to close your eyes, or can you sneeze without closing
your eyes? You cannot sneeze without closing your eyes, I hear.
That's what I've always heard. But is that like physically impossible, or something?
That's what I hear. I don't.
Or do your eyes pop out of your head if you sneeze?
I just don't think it's. I think it's the reflex of sneezing also closes your eyes. I believe that.
Are you a doctor?
Well, I am not, but I have played one on the radio.
Well, he also sneezed about 10 times at our story meeting in the newsroom this morning.
Oh, really?
I'll keep watching on you, Steve.
Yeah. 10 times. You might want to leave the room after 3.
I did.
You know what I'm saying?
Leave the room to get some Kleenex. For some reason, there's something in the air here at work that's not at home. I'm fine. When I get here at work, I start sneezing. My eyes start watering. I got hay fever. Like
inside the building?
Somewhere in Tupelo. It follows me into the building, yeah.
Okay. It's all Tupelo's fault.
Whatever it is, it doesn't happen at home.
Maybe it's Tupelo honey or something. Who knows what that is?
Could be.
Mm-hmm. All right, you're listening to today's issues. Tim, Fred, and Steve here on the program. Hey, before we jump into the news that Steve is going to tell us about, I wanted to remind you that those of you who want to go to Israel, you want to go to the Holy Land, that's on your bucket list. We try to go every March. So, a couple of times that's been delayed from COVID and then the war. But we're going in March, like in whenever that is, 8-9 months from now. We're going in March, and we've already got 55 people, and we have space for like 110 or something like that. So it's half full. Okay, 2 buses. Talking about. And so that's normally what we take when we go to the Holy Land. So we're going there in March, and then we're also going, I'm not going, but Walker and Wesley, my sons, are leading a tour to Greece and what's called the Footsteps of Paul. They're going to follow the footsteps of Paul.
Do they have to walk? Does that mean it's a walking tour?
It's a walking tour, so you're going to walk like 120 miles
from Athens to Corinth.
Yeah, but it's over like a 7 or 8 day period. So
you might want to exercise to get ready for it.
Yeah, I'd bring a couple pair of shoes. I'd say that they're comfortable for walking. So no, they're footsteps of Paul metaphorically. Mm-hmm. Well, literally, but they're not walking. They're getting on a bus, okay, and going to these places. But so that's also in March. So we coordinated these tours. So if you want to do both, you can. So you can go to Israel with us, and then if you want to join Walker and Wesley in Greece, that we've arranged for a flight from Israel to Greece to join them. So we can do that if that's something you want to do, is do both tours at the same time. Now it'll put you going from home like 2 weeks, but anyway. So for information, the itinerary, the cost, everything you want to know about these trips to Israel and to Greece, you just need to go to this website, wildmongroup.com. wildmongroup.com, and you can read about the dates, the itinerary, the cost, everything you want to know about the trips to Israel and to Greece in March of 2026. What's your first story, Steve?
Let's talk about what's going on in Israel and the war with Hamas. So President Trump was talking about getting the hostages back, and he was all on board with negotiating. Let's talk. Let's figure out how to, get the hostages back and end the crisis. But surprise, surprise, Hamas was not playing ball and was going back on its word.
How many hostages are still alive? I
don't know if they know how many are still alive.
There was a number back a few weeks ago, around 45 hostages, and they said fewer than half of those are alive. Now, of course, you're depending on Hamas to tell you those figures at this point, whether you trust Hamas.
So what's the story, Steve?
Well, so the Jewish Telegraphic Agency says as of now there are 20 Israeli hostages presumed to be alive in captivity, along with 30 believed to be dead.
Okay, so what's the situation now?
Well, President Trump is getting frustrated with Hamas, and he is now taking I don't know if he had reins on Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's telling the prime minister there to finish the job. This is from CNN. Trump's optimism seems to have vanished. The president pulled back his negotiator. That would be Steve Witkoff. He's no longer negotiating, and he said, President Trump did, it's time for Israel to escalate its military campaign and finish the job, whatever that means to both of those parties.
I think the only way this war is going to end if Hamas at some point surrenders. I mean, that's the only.
But hasn't it really ended? I mean, for all practical purposes, I haven't heard of any armed action against Israel in a long time.
Well,
right?
No, but what they are doing is Hamas is still a force, and in fact, you're seeing now on the news these talks about the starving people in Hamas. There's a famine going on in Hamas. President Trump.
What now?
There's reports of starvation in Hamas, in the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And President Trump is saying that he's going to set up U.S. feeding stations and everything. But here's the problem. The UN has been involved, and they're neck deep in cahoots with Hamas. They take the food that's coming in, they give it to Hamas. Hamas holds it hostage. Have to sell.
Who's going to volunteer to go over there? Well, I'm sure they'll work.
There are ministries actually. There's I talked to one last week, I think.
To go into Gaza?
There are people that are taking.
You want to be kidnapped? Held for ransom?
They are going.
You do that
under guard, I guess. That's what they're doing. They're
armed guards.
I think so.
That's anyway. That's a other than Israel. Israel has to maintain security for their people and their country, and sometimes that requires heavy force to do so. And that's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. So I'm not sure what exactly President Trump. He said that kind of thing before, though. About 6 months ago, he said something about there'll be hell to pay if you don't release the hostages. I'm talking about Hamas, and I don't know if that's different than today's thing about. Now he's married.
Finish the job.
What does that mean?
Well, it means whatever Benjamin Netanyahu.
But he was going
wants
to do that anyway.
Well, yeah, I think the Benjamin Netanyahu will not abide Hamas being in power in the Gaza Strip at all.
Well,
they've got to either surrender or be taken out and killed.
Well, I'm saddened that anybody would starve, especially women and children who have nothing to do with non-combatants in the war with Hamas. But until Hamas stops threatening Israel, I'm talking about declaring that from the river to the sea we want to wipe out all the Jews. Then Israel has to check every pallet of goods that comes into Gaza, whether it's by boat or by truck from Egypt, for example, or if it comes in through Israel. I'm not sure if they do that or not, but to allow in to help these people who are suffering in Gaza, but they can't allow weapons to be smuggled in either. You see what I'm saying? Israel can't. They can't afford that, and they're not going to. So when that happens, Israel's accused of starving people. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It's a no-win situation from a public relations standpoint.
And the UN cannot be involved. I mean, they are, but they are.
Well, everything has to be checked by the Israeli security forces. Yeah. They have to. They'll be derelict.
But even when it's just food going in, the UN gives it to Hamas, which holds it hostage and tries to sell it.
That's the people That's the people who live there's problem. And it's an unfortunate situation, but if they keep electing Hamas as their leadership, then that's what they're going to get. And that's just the way it is. So next story.
All right, we are hearing. I want to read a tweet of some social media here from Dan Bongino, who is the deputy director of the FBI.
Is it Dan or Don?
Dan, D-A-N.
D-A-N, Dan Bongino.
Dan Bongino.
Bongino.
Dan Bongino, yes.
You used to see him on Fox all the time, right?
Yeah, he had a show on Fox. He had a very successful podcast until he got he was former Secret Service. Everybody was hoping he would go in and reform the Secret Service after Butler. He didn't get that job. Instead, he got the deputy director of the FBI. And
it's not a bad gig either.
No, it isn't. There's a lot to do. His job, what he wants to do, he and Director Kash Patel are depoliticizing the FBI, which under the President Otto Penn was just furiously political, and they were behind all the raids of Mar-a-Lago, and they very, very political. So this is what Dan Bongino writes. During my tenure here as deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. Listen here. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core.
Down to the core?
Down to his core, he says. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned.
What did he learn?
Well, he's not saying. It's in the middle of the investigation. We will find out when the investigation...
He's made that comment since the Tulsi Gabbard.
He has, and I think it has to do with that and more.
Yes.
I have a feeling it has to do with not only the Gabbard, President Obama, what they're calling, treason.
Yes.
Some are calling it that, but no. But I have a feeling that what he's talking about is deeper than just that. So we will find out. But I wanted to read that because a lot of people are kind of impatient. They wanted heads to roll as soon as Trump got reelected and started putting people in to clean up deep state. They want to see results, but they are being careful to do things the way that they're going to last. They're being by the book, as Dan Bongino would say. So just so you know, things are going on there.
You have played for us this morning, was interviewed. Lindsey Graham was being interviewed on this and what's going on and being challenged by the NBC.
Yeah, so Lindsey Graham was on Meet the Press over the weekend. Kristen Welker was the host there, and we'll play a clip of this, and I want you to listen to the tone that Kristen Welker takes, totally dismissing any thought of wrongdoing by President Obama. I mean, it's not. She's not being coy or unbiased in the least. Let's listen to cut 10.
As you know, former President Obama has weighed in through a spokesperson. He says that's just patently false. I actually spoke to Susan Miller, who's a former senior CIA officer who helped oversee the 2017 intelligence assessment on Russian interference. She says it's completely false that Obama or anyone else asked them to change or sway their investigation. She says she says, and she's a Republican, says they all would have quit if that had happened. Senator, are you trying to rewrite history to distract from the Epstein matter, Senator?
No, I'm trying to let you know and the media know that we found something we didn't know before. At the end of the day, I'm not calling for a prosecution against President Obama for treason, but I am calling for an investigation. Mr. Miller also said there was no credible evidence that President Trump colluded with the Russians.
Yeah, this is the expected. The narrative coming from the left now is that Trump administration, Tulsi Gabbard, have cooked up all of this to deflect from the Epstein investigation, which the left wants to try to convince the American people that somehow Trump was heavily involved with what Epstein was doing. Now, that's their charge. It's kind of interesting. The host for NBC there, her name again?
Kristen Welker.
Kristen Welker. She is accepting as truth the Obama spokesperson saying it's all a lie. Basically, what she's saying, anything that the pro-Obama people say, it's got to be true. Anything that the Trump administration says, including Tulsi Gabbard, it's got to be false. This was expected, Tim, honestly. This is the left. You know, we read in the newsroom, we read the mainstream media stuff every day. They are lapdogs for the Democratic Party.
Just try to imagine in your mind, if it's even possible, Kristen Welker defending President Trump.
Kristen Welker's who exactly now?
She's the host of Meet the Press on NBC.
Yes.
I haven't seen that in years, but I do see when you see a summary of the news from Sunday, they'll say clips from Meet the Press. So Lindsey Graham was on there fielding this question. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make a confession here. This story bores me. Huh? I'm just what I'm saying. Maybe I'm the only one. The whole Russia story and Obama and what he that doesn't. That's just me talking. Okay, that means I know it's very important. Okay, a very important story. But I'm going like, tell me something I don't know from what 10 years ago. When was that?
Yeah.
You know, after what was found out about Hillary Clinton and her campaign and what they did to General Flynn and how they tried to cut off President Trump at the knees from the get-go, all that's well documented. We already knew all this stuff, pretty much.
The reason I think
what Tulsi Gabbard is talking about, which I respect her, and she has a job to do, but it's and I don't know what is it Dan Bongino what if he's referring to the same type thing, but I'm going like, you're not going to. No, Americans don't have the appetite for a special counsel investigation into Obama and what he did as far as the Russia. They don't. People don't want to go through it. We got tired of that with the one about what was it, Mueller?
Yeah,
how ridiculous that was, and 2 years of unlimited money and lawyers investigating Trump and his team, and the best they could do is we don't have anything except maybe we think that something may have happened. Remember that?
Yeah, I do, and there was nothing there. But I think the reason that this is capturing some attention now is because that the President Trump is in charge of the Justice Department. And they're referring these things that President Trump has said that he's not interested in doing a special counsel on this, but they have referred a lot of these actions to the Department of Justice, and Trump supporters are wanting something to happen.
Somebody break the law?
Yes.
Is that what they're saying?
That's what they're saying.
Who broke the law?
Well, they're saying President Obama broke the law.
It's possible.
But he has immunity.
Yeah, he has immunity.
Likely does.
But there are other people who apparently were in that Oval Office meeting in early December 2016. We're talking about John Brennan. We're talking about James Comey.
Is that when they started to try to cut off Trump at the knees and
yes.
Yeah.
And
but we knew all this already.
However, where charges may be laid is that people like Comey, people like Brennan, gave testimony under oath.
Yeah.
That none of this was happening.
Yeah.
So they can still be charged.
And there are receipts now. There are emails because no one thought that he was going to win in 2016. So
just because I'm not interested in this story doesn't mean it's not important. I don't want to suggest that, but I think a lot of people are like had it with this the whole last 10 years of back and forth. I think most people know they were out to get Trump. Okay. From the very get-go, it was shocking that he beat Hillary Clinton, and at that point they tried to basically, as I say, use a metaphor, cut him off at his knees. And the things that they did to protect Hillary Clinton remember what James Comey, the FBI, the current.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I'll tell you, Tim, to your point, the Wall Street Journal poll on the weekend.
Yeah.
Shows that Democrats are now have the lowest rating from voters in 35 years. Now, what does that tell you? The Epstein thing is not catching on with the American people. So the Democrats aren't giving the American people anything to improve their standing since the last election.
Yeah, the Democrat Party is just their polling numbers are terrible.
Yes,
in terms of national polling.
Yes,
as they look forward to the midterms, which they hope to win.
Yes,
in the midterms, and who knows who'll be their presidential candidate. Well, we'll see what happens there. I don't see any leaders on the Democrat side.
No.
Do you see any new leaders emerging?
No.
Really?
Well, leaders, loosely defined.
I'm talking about people who could run for president and win.
Well, who's getting a lot of airtime right now in the legacy media? People like Mamdani. He's getting all kinds of. I mean, he's a Marxist.
And AOC.
Yes.
And what's the gal from other gal from New York? Anyway.
AOC.
And a couple of the squad. The young people coming up are as radical and as left.
Well, that's one reason why their poll numbers, the Democrats' poll numbers, are so low.
Oh yes, and I mean the frustration on the more middle of the road Democrats. They're going on TV and they're saying, "Who was it? Senator Kelly on the weekend."
That's it.
What did he say?
Senator
From
Kelly,
Arizona?
Yeah.
Former astronaut?
He was saying, we're basically, and I'm paraphrasing, we're a mess, referring to the Democratic Party.
They are.
Yeah.
We're a mess.
It's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't instill any confidence.
Hate to see it. You hate to see it. Huh?
Well, that's what the Republicans are saying.
Yeah.
You guys go ahead and continue to be crazy.
Bless their hearts.
Yes.
All right, we got about a minute or so left.
All right. Hey, would you like to taste a new chip? It's from Dextero, and they decided they want to capitalize on how flavors trigger memory. And so they are having a chip that's supposed to taste like when you put your tongue on a 9-volt battery. Ever do that as a kid?
No.
You never did?
I did not.
Listen, I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I knew not to do that.
Yeah, no.
I did. Are you going to confess?
I did, yeah.
What was it? Was it some kind of dare people did?
Yeah,
It made it out of a. All we did was.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, it may explain some things.
Yeah, well, sticking a battery in your mouth. What was the point of that?
It tingles.
Oh well.
It
All I know is we used to
9
try
volts,
to put.
man, right through your tongue.
We used to try to put people's hands in warm water while they slept.
Yeah.
You know about this one?
And the result was?
All right, we got to end the show right there. You remember this?
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
spending a night with we were spending a night with my buddy, and we were about 8 years old, and he said, "Hey, my big brother's asleep on the couch. Let's put his hand in some warm water."
Yep.
And
things got warm.
People can ask their parents about that or read about that somewhere. I'm not going to go into it. Will, thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Fred, Brent Creeley, our producer, Chris Woodward. Thank you, Chris. And we had Chairman Brendan Carr from the FCC. He was on with us for a few minutes today. So have a great rest of your Monday, everybody, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Hello, everybody. I'm Walker Wildman, Vice President here at American Family Association. Well, my brother Wesley and I were following in the footsteps